My main chair is taken, so I'm sitting in my other chair right now. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about energy management. I actually wanted to make a video right after I woke up, but then my wife had some stuff she wanted to do, and then we went out, and then now it's pretty late. Regardless, energy management. Thinking about energy level, like personal energy, right? Like how you feel, how much, like fatigue and a sense of liveliness, feeling energetic, feeling. Are there other words for this? For feeling up, right? Feeling kind of hype, feeling fired up, feeling excited, versus feeling lethargic, tired, weary, under kind of overwhelmed, dreary, all of those things. When I look back on my life, right, the past, so I'm 31 now, and when I just kind of tracing my experience of my energy levels, I don't remember my early childhood very much. I was a fairly bookish kid. I remember I used to read books late into the night. I'd fall asleep reading a book. I'd wake up in the morning, continue reading. And that has to be a thing that has shaped me to a degree that I still don't appreciate. Like, I don't appreciate how uncommon that is relative to the average person. And I don't remember getting tired until, like, significantly tired until probably junior college. I mean, I had a couple of instances in secondary school. I remember where I would get tired, like in math class and a couple of other classes maybe. But for the most part, I remember in junior college when I was 17, 18, 19, I was exhausted all the time. And I think I was staying up late at night all the time. I was on my computer. I didn't have smartphones back then. And I was spending hours and hours every day for years on the internet. And I do that now as well. And yeah, so I would sometimes be up at 3 a.m. and go to sleep at 4 or something. Have to wake up at 6, 6:30, 6:20, whatever. Go to school by 7. And diet comes into play as well. I used to drink a lot of sugar. I used to when I was in primary school, I used to drink like a bottle of Coke every day, or Pepsi or whatever. It's only $1 back then, and that was probably not good. And also, I remember in junior college, I would eat noodles, which is very carb heavy, or chicken rice, also very carb heavy. I would get like carb crashes all the time. And so diet is a part of what affects energy levels for sure. But also, I think I've been trying to understand, anxiety and stress, and how that affects hormone levels, and how hormone levels affect mood and energy levels, right? There is a thing called adrenal fatigue, which I have tried to understand on several occasions, and I develop an understanding, and then I kind of lose bits of it, and then I have to relearn it again. But basically, it's possible to kind of be running on adrenaline a lot of the time, which I think I used to do. And what that happens is, so like in my case, I wouldn't do my homework, right? I would procrastinate on my homework, and then the anxiety of getting punished for not having done your homework, that would give me a what I now realize was a cortisol spike, and that would make my appetite really bad, which would mess with my blood sugar levels, which I would self-medicate with cigarettes. Do you know that about cigarettes? I find that a lot of people don't realize that. I think, so some people start smoking and it doesn't really catch on for them. They just, like, they try a couple of cigarettes and they're like, yeah, it's yucky, right? And then they just kind of don't pick up the habit. Whereas for other people, it becomes incredibly habit forming. And having given up cigarettes a few times for a few weeks, sometimes a few months, I think the longest I went without cigarettes was almost 6 months. The actual physical withdrawal of not smoking a cigarette, I don't think that's like terribly bad. I think what's really difficult is when you use your cigarettes to alleviate the symptoms of anxiety, the symptoms of low blood sugar. And I was doing some interesting reading about this once. So people who used to climb mountains, I don't know if they still do this, but people who climb mountains and they go to high altitudes and they feel lightheaded and they feel, like their blood, they're not getting oxygen into their bloodstream. I don't know the specifics, I gotta look it up again. But they would smoke cigarettes and feel better. They would experience relief of altitude sickness from cigarette smoking. And there's something about what smoking does to your blood vessels, to your heart rate. It's I guess, to some degree, there's some parallels with coffee as a stimulant, but I'm not entirely sure. But there's something interesting there about how, so when, like, sometimes cigarette smokers joke that they're going out for some air or for some oxygen. And there's a truth to that in what the cigarettes do to your bloodstream, to your blood vessels and other things there. But I forget the details and I'm gonna look it up again. And what else about energy management? I think that people very often talk about sleep, about hydration. These are important things. You should stay hydrated. That's something that's, if you're dehydrated, what are you doing, right? Like that, you're just depriving yourself of healthy function. Diet, with regards to what you eat, that's a bit more complicated, right? If you're self-medicating with sugar for whatever emotional support, right? So now we get into some slightly more, I wouldn't say wooey territory, but it's less straightforward as, eat healthy, sleep early, drink lots of water, exercise regularly. Like those are all kind of obvious things that everyone at this point, if you're moderately intelligent, you know that those are things that you're supposed to do. But for people who want to try and do them, they encounter difficulties, and there's reasons why it's difficult. And people don't tend to go into the specifics of why each thing is so difficult. So, for example, I mentioned in my sleep, I have found it difficult to sleep when I am subconsciously stressed about not having had a productive day. Even though I know intellectually that, hey, if I haven't done work today and I don't sleep well tonight, I'm going to wake up sleep deprived tomorrow, and then I'm going to be unproductive tomorrow and I won't get work done tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be a bad day as well. I'm going to sleep badly tomorrow as well. But, I find it difficult to intervene even though I intellectually know that sleep would be good, right? Like even though you haven't done work today, sleep would be good because your day's done, it's spent, you have to accept that. And it's hard to accept. And the accepting of that reality feels like something that is it's not in the prefrontal cortex. I think it's not like intellectual, it's deeper than that. It's like a lizard brain again, I don't know the specific neuroscience for this, and maybe you should, people should, I don't know if studies have been done, but I suspect that it's a more emotional limbic. Again, I don't know the correct neuroscientific terminology for these things, but I can tell you how it feels, right? It feels like there's some part of the brain, that the fear brain, right? The lizard brain rather than the monkey brain or the thinking brain. It's the fear of, I haven't done enough, I haven't made today count. And dismantling that fear requires, I think, a kind of meditation, a kind of reflection, reassurance, right? You have to reassure the fear mind. And the fear mind is not just in the mind because it secretes cortisol, right? It's a hormonal thing that manifests in your stomach, manifests in your muscles, in your shoulders, facial tension, right? If you see, I have old videos on this channel. You can go back and look at like my videos from 2017 or so, and you can see my face is just stressed. And even right now, I wouldn't say I'm at my most relaxed facially. And part of why there's still some tension around my eyes and I don't know, just some tension in my face. And it has to do with the fact that I haven't published my book yet. When I left work, when I left my job, even though I was eating like shit, sleeping like shit, playing video games all night, I was very relaxed. There was a big relief that washed over me, and I was glowing. You could see my eyes were bright, and I was smiling, happy. And I look forward to being in that state again. I know it's possible. I believe it's possible, but I have to ship my book, right? And it's partially negotiable. Like you can use project management to persuade. I believe I can use project management to persuade myself that I'm making progress. But it's just so interesting to me how, in a way, like my body holds me hostage in a certain sense. And I'm just thinking about how this holistic view of energy management, of you know, managing your motivations and your excitement and your fears, and how that influences your diet. You know, when you're stressed, you feel like eating junk sometimes. And like, what is that? Like, there is something about the body that seems to want, you know, sugar. I tend to want McDonald's, right? And it's like carbs, and I don't feel like lifting. And it does help sometimes to kind of force myself to lift weights or to go for a run. And I do that once in a while when I feel the trigger, or I've, you know, there's some part of my mind that's like relatively recently installed software that's like, oh, when you're feeling like shit, you should work out a little bit, break a sweat, you'll feel better. That's true. And that's a useful thing to know. Another thing that I've learned is box breathing, which is basically just breath work. When you hold your breath there's like the traditional way of doing it is you breathe in for 4 counts, you hold your breath for 4 counts, you breathe out for 4 counts, you hold again for 4 counts, and then you just repeat that cycle. And I kind of freestyle, but the thing is to and I found that if I repeat that cycle 10, 20 times, first thing in the morning when I wake up and I'm still kind of like, I just woke up, you know, and I feel like that, and I do that, I get alert. And it's something to do with like carbon dioxide in your bloodstream. Again, I have always been wanting to understand this stuff clearly, but it eludes me because I guess I don't revisit it regularly. I do expect that with more, I'm going to talk about this more often. I'm going to experiment with this more often. And so each time I do it, I'm going to revisit my notes and I'm going to get a better and better understanding. But, you know, my understanding doesn't need to be ultra scientific. It just, and ultra precise. It just needs to be good enough that it helps me get through my days happily, right? Like, it gets me through to steer better around the pitfalls and avoid the bumps and stuff. A thing that I have spoken about in a couple of videos recently, and it's just that like I have childhood trauma, probably, right? I have just this disdain and disgust for schedules and calendars. It just, I associate it with school timetables and homework that's overdue and deadlines, and it just and now that I talk about it, it doesn't feel as bad. But like a couple of years ago, if I was trying to talk about it, I would feel a knot in my stomach just talking about calendars and schedules. And I think one of the reasons it doesn't feel so bad is that in the past month or so, ever since my birthday on June 6th, I've been spending every day writing down, and it's not like a forward calendar, it's like a backward calendar. I have been writing down what I did each day, and that has allowed a certain emergent structure to reveal itself. Because when you don't have a calendar, you don't have a schedule, you don't have a plan, it's not like you're gonna, at least for me and for most people that I talk to, it's not like you're magically gonna do the best possible thing for you at all times, because interruptions get in the way. You fall into your old habits and routines, and some of the most interesting and cool things you can be doing require some amount of preparation, and you can't improvise the preparation on the spot. So unless you make time to prepare, it's less likely to happen. And so what ends up happening is that while there's no calendar in your phone or on your table or whatever, you're following a structure that is decided for you by your base impulses and your habits and routines. So I do think that accepting that there is a calendar no matter what, and calendar in quotes, right? Like there is some kind of habit, routine, pattern that happens no matter what I do, and it's stronger than me. It's more powerful than me, right? Because it's subconscious. It's not. And one of the important things I've learned and I've forgotten and I had to learn again multiple times is that the subconscious is more powerful than the conscious, and just you can't kind of overpower your habits and routines with sheer force of will. It doesn't work. If it would work, it would have worked already. You can use like moments of clarity to do disproportionately eventful things, but like reprogramming and redesigning your life is something that takes lots and lots of medium to small steps. And yeah, I'm working on that. And just reflecting on things that have given me more energy. I know that I always feel more energized after talking with a person, like with a friend, someone who understands, and we have a shared understanding. And whereas, kind of arguing with people who don't get it, don't get me, right? dispiriting and demoralizing and tiring, right? And yeah, it's being aware of the things that kind of give you energy. Publishing a video always feels good. Doing a salon once a month, I do these II salons, that always leaves me feeling fired up afterwards. Publishing anything makes me feel good. So I should be publishing things at a regular cadence. But again, there's something about regular cadences that I have not yet become comfortable with. I think it violates my self image as this sort of, chaotic ADHD guy. And I think there's a synthesis to be had where, it's not like just because I'm following a soft kind of schedule that is going to make me less of who I am. I'm still myself. I will always be myself no matter what I'm doing. Anyway, that's about all I want to say for this video for now, but I am going to be revisiting this over and over again. I'm going to go and dig into the science of breathing and breath work and all of those things. I want to figure it out. I want to understand it well, and I want to live my life with more voltage, right? More passion, more energy. I think it's possible. I've seen people do it better than I do, and I believe that people can get better at things, and I would like to demonstrate by example. And so I think the big challenge of my life in the coming year or so is to dismantle my fear of schedules, my discomfort of schedules, to rehabilitate my relationship with sleep. And if I'm doing it right, it will reveal itself in my volume of output. Well, there's also project management elements, but you see what I mean? It's all connected, right? And that's all for now. Hope you guys are well. Done.